The alarm cut through the quiet hum of Viridian Prime monitoring station like a knife. Sixthor's tentacles jerked away from the console as red lights flooded his workspace. For 20 cycles he had worked this station without incident. The peaceful sectors never had emergencies. That was why junior officers like him got assigned here. But the signal screaming through his equipment was real. Someone was dying out there. His supervisor floated over, concern rippling across her translucent form. Sixthor played the message again. The voice was Valarian, high and musical but cracking with fear. This is Thessia 4 colony. We are under attack. Repeat, under attack. Korthax warships in orbit. They are landing troops. We have 40,000 civilians. Please, anyone. We need help now. The message cut to static, then looped again. Sixthor felt his body temperature drop. The Korthax Dominion. Everyone knew what happened when they attacked a world. The survivors became slaves in their mining colonies. The young ones were taken for re-education camps. Whole civilizations disappeared into their empire, never to be heard from again. Send it to the Council Emergency Channel, his supervisor ordered. Priority Alpha. Sixthor obeyed, but his hands shook as he worked. The Council would debate. They always debated. By the time they voted on a response, Thessia 4 would be empty. He had seen it happen before. Across the galaxy, the signal reached Terra Station. The human outpost hung in space like a steel fortress, bristling with weapons that made other species nervous. Humans built their stations the way they built everything, strong enough to survive a war. Commander Jake Morrison was in his quarters when the alert came through. He was a tall man with gray starting to show in his dark hair. 15 years in the human fleet had given him scars and a reputation. People said he was too quick to fight, too willing to risk his ship and crew. But those same people called him when they needed someone who would not back down. He pulled up the distress signal on his personal screen and listened. Then he listened again. His jaw tightened. Jake hit the ship-wide comm. All hands battle stations. I want engines hot in 30 minutes. Navigation. Plot a course to Thessia 4. Maximum burn. His second officer, Lieutenant Alex Carter, appeared at his door moments later. The younger man looked worried. Sir, Thessia 4 is 72 hours away, even at full speed. And it is outside our patrol zone. The Council has not authorized a response yet. I know where it is, Jake said, pulling on his uniform jacket, and I do not need the Council's permission to answer a distress call. But sir, the regulations say we respond to emergencies. Those people are dying right now. We can argue about jurisdiction later. Jake strode onto the bridge of the Valiant. The Dreadnought was humanity's pride. A massive ship with armor thick enough to ram through smaller vessels. Its crew of 200 moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for departure. Status, Jake ordered. Engines warming up. Weapon systems online. Navigation has the course plotted, reported Lieutenant Sam Foster from Tactical. Good. Open a channel to the fleet. 6 other human ships were docked at Terra Station. 2 destroyers, 3 frigates, and a carrier. All of them responded to Jake's call within minutes. Captain Lisa Grant of the destroyer Typhoon appeared on screen first. She was a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and hair pulled back in a tight bun. We heard the signal, Jake. My crew is ready to move. Commander Ryan Bell of the carrier Horizon came online next. He was younger, with red hair and a face full of freckles that made him look like a student rather than a carrier commander. I can have my fighter squadrons launched in 15 minutes. One by one, the other ships reported in. Everyone had heard the distress call. Everyone knew what needed to be done. Terra Station Control, this is Valiant. We are departing for emergency rescue operations. The station controller's voice came back uncertain. Valiant, we have received no authorization from Council Command. Please hold position. Negative Control. We have a distress call from Thessia 4. We are responding under human emergency protocols. Commander Morrison, the Council has not yet voted. Then they can vote faster. Valiant out. Jake looked at his crew. They were watching him, waiting. He knew what this meant. Leaving without Council approval could end his career. It could cause diplomatic problems for Earth. But he also knew what would happen if they waited. He had seen reports from Korthax raids before. The images still gave him nightmares. All ships, this is Morrison. In 5 minutes we jump. Our mission is simple. Get to Thessia 4, stop the Korthax, bring those people home. I know this is not our sector. I know we might catch hell for this later, but right now, 40,000 people need help and we are the only ones close enough to give it. If anyone wants to stay behind, I understand. No shame in following orders, nobody moved. Nobody spoke up to stay behind. Jake smiled slightly. All right then, let us go save some lives. The human fleet broke formation and accelerated away from Terra Station. Their engines burned bright blue against the darkness of space as they pushed toward faster-than-light speed. Behind them, Council representatives scrambled to file reports and protests. But the humans were already gone. On the bridge of the Valiant, Jake stared at the starfield ahead. 72 hours. That was how long it would take to reach Thessia 4. He hoped they would not be too late. He hoped the Valerians could hold out until help arrived. His tactical officer spoke up quietly. Sir, the Council is going to be angry about this. Let them be angry, Jake said. Those people asked for help. They sent out a call into the dark, hoping someone would hear them and care enough to come. We heard them. That is all that matters. Deep in the shelter networks beneath Thessia 4, Administrator Pelnara listened to the sounds of explosions above. The Korthax were landing more troops. Their drones were hunting through the colony buildings, searching for survivors. Her people were hiding in the underground chambers, but it would not be enough. Eventually, the enemy would find them. She had sent the distress signal hours ago. Nobody had answered. Nobody was coming. Pelnara closed her eyes and prayed to the old gods of her people. If this was the end, she hoped it would be quick. She hoped her children would not suffer. Above her in the cold of space, 7 human warships raced through the void at impossible speed. Their crews worked without rest, pushing their ships harder than safety regulations allowed. Every minute counted. Every second mattered. Humanity's deathworlder fleet was on the move, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The human fleet moved through Council space like sharks through water, fast, focused, and dangerous. Inside the destroyer Typhoon, Captain Lisa Grant walked through the corridors checking on her crew. The ship hummed with activity as soldiers prepared for combat. Lisa stopped at the armory where Sergeant Danny Price was inspecting weapons. He was a big man, over 6 feet tall with arms thick from years of training. He looked up when she entered. "How are we looking, Sergeant?" she asked. "Good to go, Captain. Rifles charged, armor checked, and the boys are ready to kick some doors down." He grinned. "Been too long since we had a real fight." Lisa shook her head but smiled. That was the thing about human soldiers. Most species in the galaxy avoided physical combat. They used drones and automated systems to fight their wars from a distance. But humans trained for close combat. They wanted to be in the fight, face to face with the enemy. "Just remember, we are there to save civilians, not start a war," she reminded him. "Yes, ma'am. We will be gentle." Danny's grin said he would be anything but gentle with the Korthax. Lisa continued her inspection. In the medical bay, Dr. Amy Walsh was preparing supplies. The doctor was young but skilled, and she had seen combat before. She knew what was coming. "Do we know how many wounded to expect?" Amy asked. "No idea. Could be hundreds, maybe thousands. We just have to be ready for anything." Amy nodded and went back to organizing medical packs. Lisa watched her work for a moment. This was why she loved her crew. They did not complain. They did not question. They just did their jobs. On the carrier Horizon, Commander Ryan Bell was in the launch bay with his pilots. 30 fighters sat ready, their sleek forms designed for speed and killing power. The pilots stood in a group listening as Ryan gave them the mission brief. The Korthax fleet has 12 warships and about 30 support vessels. They outnumber us almost 6 to 1, but we have advantages they do not. A pilot named Greg Mason raised his hand. "What advantages, sir?" "They have more ships and bigger guns." Ryan smiled. "They have bigger guns, but we have better pilots. See, most Council species cannot handle the G-forces that our fighters can pull. Their biology is weaker. They evolved on low-gravity worlds where everything is soft and easy. But we come from Earth, a heavy-gravity death world where everything is trying to kill you. Our bodies are built for punishment." He pulled up tactical displays showing standard Council fighter maneuvers. "Look at this. Their fighters turn in wide arcs because tight turns would kill their pilots. They cannot dive or climb at steep angles. They cannot handle rapid acceleration. But you can. Your bodies can take the stress. Your reflexes are faster. Your endurance is better." Ryan pointed at each pilot in turn. "When we hit that Korthax fleet, I want you to fly like demons. Use every advantage we have. Turn inside their arcs. Out-accelerate them. Make them scared. Show them what humans can do." The pilots cheered. They were ready. They had trained for this their entire careers. Back on the Valiant, Jake Morrison was in a meeting with his department heads. Lieutenant Alex Carter from Navigation, Lieutenant Sam Foster from Tactical, and Chief Engineer Bill Thompson all sat around the conference table. "Give me the numbers," Jake said. Alex spoke first. "We will reach Thessia 4 in 58 hours at current speed. We are pushing the engines harder than recommended, but Chief Thompson says they can handle it." Bill nodded. "The engines are fine. Built human tough, but we are burning fuel fast. After the battle, we will need to refuel before we can jump home." "We will worry about that later," Jake said. "Sam, what do we know about the Korthax fleet?" Sam pulled up reconnaissance data. 12 warships. The flagship is a heavy cruiser, about twice our size. The rest are lighter vessels, corvettes and frigates mostly. Their weapons are primarily energy-based, plasma cannons and particle beams. Their shields are strong against energy weapons but weaker against kinetic impacts. Good, we hit them with missiles first. Overwhelm their shields with mass and velocity. Jake studied the display. What about their tactics? Standard Council doctrine. They will form a defensive wall and try to engage us at long range. They like to pound enemy ships from a distance until the shields fail. Jake nodded slowly. Then we do not give them that chance. We close fast, hit hard, and break their formation. Once we are inside their defensive perimeter, their size works against them. Big ships cannot maneuver well in close combat. That is a risky strategy, sir, Alex said carefully. Everything about this mission is risky, but we have one advantage. They do not really know us yet. Humans have only been in space for 30 years. The Korthax think we are primitive. They think our tactics are crude. We are going to use that against them. The meeting continued for another hour as they refined their battle plan. When it ended, Jake stood and looked at his officers. Get some rest while you can. In 2 days, we are going to show the galaxy what humans can do when someone asks for help. That night, as the fleet raced through faster-than-light space, Jake could not sleep. He stood in his quarters looking at pictures on his desk. One showed him as a young officer fresh from the academy. Another showed his family back on Earth. His parents, his sister, her kids. He wondered what they would think of what he was doing. Disobeying council orders, risking his career and his crew, all for people he had never met. But Jake knew he could not have made any other choice. It was not about politics or regulations. It was about right and wrong. The council had rules for everything. Procedures, protocols, committees to study every decision. But while they debated, people died. Jake had seen it happen too many times. The council was old and tired and scared of risks. They had forgotten how to be heroes, but humanity remembered. Humans came from a world where you fought or you died, where helping your neighbor was not a political decision but simple survival, where courage meant something. In the crew quarters throughout the fleet, similar thoughts passed through human minds. They were doing something dangerous, maybe even illegal by council standards, but every single one of them knew they were doing the right thing. On the Typhoon, Danny Price checked his rifle one more time before sleeping. On the horizon, Greg Mason reviewed flight maneuvers in his head. In the medical bay of the Valiant, Amy Walsh made lists of supplies she would need. The human fleet pushed forward through the dark, carrying with them the hopes of 40,000 strangers. They did not know if they would arrive in time. They did not know if they could win against a larger enemy fleet. But they knew they had to try, because somewhere in the galaxy people had called for help, and humanity had answered. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Thessia system. Stars returned to their normal positions as the ships transitioned back to normal space. On the bridge of the Valiant, alarms immediately started beeping. "Contact," Sam Foster called out. "I have multiple ships in orbit around Thessia 4, counting 12 warships and 32 smaller vessels." Jake leaned forward in his command chair. "Any sign they have detected us?" "Not yet, sir. We came in behind the 4th planet. It is blocking their sensors." "Good. All ships go to silent running. Cut all non-essential transmissions." Jake studied the tactical display. The Korthax fleet was spread out around Thessia 4 like vultures around a corpse. "What is happening on the planet?" "Sensors show multiple landing sites. Looks like they have at least 2,000 troops on the ground. Energy weapons fire detected near the colony's main settlement." Jake's jaw tightened. They were still fighting down there. That meant the Valerians were still alive, still resisting. There was still time. "Open a channel to the fleet. Encrypted." Lisa Grant's face appeared on one screen, Ryan Bell on another. The other ship commanders filled the remaining displays. "All right, people, here's the situation," Jake began. "The Korthax are focused on the planet. They are not expecting company. That gives us one chance to hit them before they can organize a defense. Ryan, your fighters will launch first. I want them to take out the support ships and screening vessels." "Clear a path for the heavy ships," Ryan nodded. "Understood. My pilots are ready. Lisa, your destroyers will target the cruisers on the left flank. Hit them fast and hard. Do not give them time to coordinate. We will break their formation," Lisa confirmed. "The Valiant will go straight for their flagship. If we kill the command ship, the rest should fall apart." Jake looked at each commander in turn. "Remember, we are outnumbered but not outmatched. Use your speed. Use your maneuverability. Make them react to us instead of the other way around." Questions? There were none. "Then let us bring these people home. All ships, battle stations." The human fleet moved out from behind the planet. Their engines fired up, pushing the ships forward at maximum acceleration. The G-forces would have killed most council species, but human crews just tightened their pressure suits and kept working. On the horizon, Ryan Bell gave the launch order. The carrier's bay doors opened and fighters poured out like angry hornets. 30 craft, each one piloted by a human who could survive maneuvers that would tear apart most alien pilots. Greg Mason led the first squadron. He pushed his throttle forward and his fighter leaped ahead. The speed pressed him back into his seat, but he had trained for this. Earth's gravity was stronger than this. His body could handle it. "All fighters form up," he ordered. "We go in fast and low. Target the screening ships first. Do not let them form a defensive line." The fighters accelerated to attack speed. The Korthax ships finally detected them. Alarms began sounding throughout the enemy fleet. War Prime Thalkos was in his command chamber when the warnings came. He was a large creature, all thick chitin and multiple limbs, bred for war by the Dominion. He moved to his tactical display and studied the approaching ships. 7 vessels. Small fleet. He had 12 warships. This would be easy. "All ships form defensive wall," he ordered. "Prepare to engage at maximum range. Target the largest vessel first." His weapons officer hesitated. "War Prime, the unknown ships are not slowing down." "They are accelerating toward us." Thalkos clicked his mandibles in annoyance. "Then they are fools. Charge weapons. Fire when they enter range." The Korthax fleet began to turn, massive ships slowly rotating to bring their weapons to bear. But they were too slow. The human fighters reached them first. Greg Mason's squadron hit the screening ships like a hammer. He selected a target, a Korthax corvette, and fired missiles. The weapons streaked across space and slammed into the enemy's shields. The shields flickered but held. "Shields are stronger than expected," Greg reported. Switching to guns, he dove toward the corvette, his fighter pulling G-forces that would have made a council pilot black out. His targeting computer locked on and he fired. Railgun rounds, solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible velocity, hammered into the corvette's shields. This time they failed. The rounds punched through armor and into the ship's interior. Atmosphere vented into space. The corvette began to tumble, its engines dead. "Scratch one," Greg called out. "Next target." All around the battlefield, human fighters were dancing through enemy formations. The Korthax tried to track them, but the human pilots were too fast, too aggressive. They flew like madmen, taking risks that no sane council pilot would attempt. Meanwhile, the capital ships closed to engagement range. Jake watched the distance counter tick down on his display. The Korthax flagship was directly ahead, its massive guns swinging to target the Valiant. "Incoming fire," Sam warned. Particle beams lanced out from the Korthax ship. They struck the Valiant's shields and energy flared across the barrier. The ship shuddered but held steady. "Shields at 80%, Sam reported. "Good, means they can be hurt. Target their shield generators and fire missiles." The Valiant launched a full barrage, 20 missiles, each one carrying a warhead designed to punch through armor. The Korthax flagship tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions blossomed across its hull. "Their shields are fluctuating," Sam said, switching to railguns. The Valiant's main gun spoke. Solid slugs, each one weighing several tons, crossed the gap between ships in seconds. They hit the weakened shields and smashed through. Armor crumpled. Internal systems exploded. War Prime Thalkos staggered as his ship rocked from impacts. "Damage report." "Shields failing. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We are venting atmosphere." "Impossible. They are just humans. Primitive deathworlders. How can they? Another impact cut him off. The entire ship tilted as engines misfired. Thalkos realized with growing horror that he was losing. Lisa Grant's destroyers tore into the left flank of the Korthax formation. The Typhoon and her sister ships moved in perfect coordination, their captains having trained together for years. They focused fire on individual targets, overwhelming shields and destroying ships one by one. A Korthax cruiser tried to run. Lisa pursued, her ship burning hard to catch up. When the cruiser's shields finally failed, she did not destroy it. Instead, she opened a communication channel. Korthax vessel, this is Captain Grant of the Typhoon. Power down your weapons and engines. Surrender now and you will not be harmed. Refuse and I will blast you into debris. You have 30 seconds to decide. There was a long pause. Then the cruiser's engines shut down. It was surrendering. Boarding parties, you are clear to proceed, Lisa ordered. Danny Price and his Marines had been waiting for this moment. The battle raged for 4 hours. One by one, Korthax ships were destroyed or captured. Their tactics were outdated, their responses too slow. They had expected an easy raid on a defenseless colony. Instead, they found themselves fighting a foe that hit harder and faster than anything they had encountered before. When it was over, 9 Korthax warships were destroyed. 3 had surrendered. The support vessels either ran or were captured. Jake sat in his command chair, breathing hard. The Valiant had taken damage, but nothing critical. Around him, his crew cheered and celebrated. They had won. All ships, status report, Jake ordered. One by one, his commanders checked in. Minor damage, some injuries, but all ships were operational. Ryan reported losing 2 fighters, but both pilots had ejected safely. Good work, everyone, Jake said. He felt exhausted, but also proud. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. He opened a channel to the planet below. Thessia 4. This is Commander Morrison of the Human Fleet Valiant. The Korthax fleet has been neutralized. We are sending ground forces to assist you. Hold on just a little longer. Help is here. On the planet in her underground shelter, Pelnara heard the message and began to cry. Someone had come. Someone had actually answered their call. The drop pods fell through Thessia 4's atmosphere like meteors. Inside each pod, human Marines sat strapped into their seats, weapons secured, armor sealed tight. Major Kate Sullivan watched her display count down the seconds until landing. The pod shook violently as it hit air resistance, but she had done this 100 times in training. This time it was real. 30 seconds to impact, the automated voice announced. Kate checked her squad channel. First Regiment, sound off. One by one, her company commanders reported in. 200 Marines in 40 pods, all falling toward the planet's surface at terminal velocity. Most Council species thought humans were insane for doing orbital drops this way. They preferred to land safely in shuttles at secure zones. But humans like to land right on top of the enemy. 10 seconds. Kate gripped her harness. The pod's retro rockets fired, slowing their descent but not by much. They were still going to hit hard. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs despite the shock absorption. Her pod had landed in the middle of what used to be a street in the colony's main settlement. Around her, other pods were slamming into the ground, kicking up dirt and debris. Kate hit the release. The pod door blew off with explosive bolts and she rolled out, rifle up, scanning for targets. The settlement was a mess. Buildings were damaged or burning. Bodies lay in the streets, both Valerian and Korthax. The sounds of fighting echoed from multiple directions. Perimeter secure, her second-in-command Lieutenant Chris Hayes reported. He had landed 3 pods over. No immediate contacts. Good. First and second companies, sweep north toward the main shelters. Third and fourth companies, clear the landing zones. Find me those civilians. The Marines moved out in tactical formations. They advanced through the ruined settlement with weapons ready. Most of them had seen combat before, either in training exercises or small skirmishes with pirates. But this was different. This was a real rescue mission against a real enemy. Chris led his squad down a wide avenue. The Valerian architecture was beautiful, all flowing curves and artistic designs. The Korthax had ruined it. Scorch marks covered walls. Doors had been blown open. The enemy had gone through here like locusts. "Movement, 2 o'clock," one of his Marines called out. Chris turned and saw them. Korthax warrior drones, maybe 20 of them, emerging from a damaged building. The drones were roughly humanoid but made of metal and composite armor. They carried energy weapons and moved with mechanical precision. Contact! Open fire! The Marines did not hesitate. Their rifles barked, sending armor-piercing rounds downrange. The drones returned fire with plasma bolts that scorched the air. One Marine took a hit to the chest, but his armor held. He staggered but kept shooting. Chris moved forward using building corners for cover. He lined up a shot on a drone and squeezed the trigger. 3 rounds center mass. The drone sparked and fell. Another took its place. Grenades! Chris called out. 2 Marines pulled grenades from their belts and threw them. The explosives bounced into the drone formation and detonated. Shrapnel ripped through the enemy machines. Half of them went down immediately. The rest tried to retreat. Do not let them get away, Chris ordered. If they report our position, they will send reinforcements. The Marines charged. It was a calculated risk, but they had the advantage. The drones were programmed to fight council species, beings that avoided close combat. They were not ready for humans who rushed straight at them. Chris reached the nearest drone and slammed his rifle butt into its sensor cluster. The machine staggered. He put 3 rounds through its central processor. It collapsed. The fight was over in 90 seconds. All 20 drones were destroyed. Chris checked his squad. 1 Marine had a plasma burn on his arm, but the suit had sealed and he could still fight. Good work. Keep moving. Those shelters are half a mile ahead. Meanwhile, Kate had reached the colony's command center. The building was still standing but badly damaged. She led her command squad inside carefully, clearing each room. Major, I have something, called Corporal Amy Brooks. She was kneeling next to a console that was somehow still working. Communications log. The Valerians sent their last message 6 hours ago. They reported retreating to underground shelters beneath the northern district. Kate pulled up a map on her helmet display. That is where Chris is headed. Good. What about the Korthax ground forces? Sensors show roughly 2,000 drones spread across the settlement. Most of them are concentrated around the shelter entrances. They are trying to break through. Then we need to get there fast. Kate switched to the command channel. All units converge on the northern district. The civilians are pinned down in underground shelters. We need to clear the Korthax drones and secure the area. The Marines changed direction, moving as fast as they could through the damaged streets. They encountered more drone patrols and destroyed them. The Korthax machines were tough, but they fought using predictable patterns. They had not been programmed to deal with human aggression. Chris reached the northern district first. He saw the problem immediately. A massive shelter door stood in the center of a plaza. Around it, hundreds of Korthax drones were setting up breaching equipment. They had plasma cutters working on the door's seals. We have got a situation here, Chris reported. Multiple hostiles. They are about to break through that door. How long until they breach? Kate asked. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. Then we hit them now. All units. Assault formation. The Marines formed up at the edge of the plaza. They had surprise on their side. The drones were focused on the door and had not noticed the humans yet. On my mark, Kate said. She raised her hand and counted down with her fingers. 3, 2, 1. Mark! 200 Marines opened fire at once. The concentrated barrage tore through the drone formations. Machines exploded and fell. The survivors tried to return fire, but they were in the open with no cover. Advance, Kate ordered. The Marines moved forward in coordinated teams. They used suppressing fire to pin down drones while other teams flanked them. It was textbook infantry tactics, the kind of fighting that humans had perfected over thousands of years of warfare. A heavy drone, bigger than the others, emerged from behind the breaching equipment. It carried a massive gun, and its armor looked thicker. It fired, and 1 Marine went down hard, his armor cracked. Heavy unit, Kate warned. Concentrated fire on that target. Multiple Marines turned their weapons on the heavy drone. Rounds hammered into it from all angles. Its armor held for several seconds, then began to fail. When it finally fell, it crushed 2 smaller drones beneath it. The battle for the plaza lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, every drone was destroyed. The Marines immediately secured the perimeter and set up defensive positions. Kate approached the shelter door. It was heavily reinforced, designed to protect against bombardment. The Korthax had been close to breaking through. Another few minutes, and the civilians would have been defenseless. She activated her external speakers. Valerian survivors, this is Major Sullivan of the Human Rescue Force. The area is secure. You can come out now. There was a long silence. Then slowly the massive door began to open. Light spilled out from inside. Figures appeared in the doorway, hesitant and afraid. The Valerians were smaller than humans, maybe. 5 feet tall on average, with delicate features and pale skin. They looked fragile, like they might break if you touched them. When they saw the armored Marines, many of them gasped and drew back. Kate realized how she must look to them. 7 feet tall in powered armor, covered in weapons and ammunition, helmet hiding her face. She probably looked like another kind of monster. She reached up and removed her helmet. Her short brown hair was matted with sweat, and her face was streaked with dirt. But she smiled. "It is okay," she said gently. "We are here to help. You are safe now." A Valerian woman stepped forward. She was older, with white in her hair and lines on her face. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She looked exhausted. "You came," she whispered. "We sent the message and you actually came." "Of course we came," Kate said. "You asked for help, that is all we needed to hear." The woman began to cry. Then others started crying too. Soon the whole group was weeping, some from relief, some from grief for those they had lost. Kate stood there awkwardly, not sure what to do. Chris walked up beside her. "Never been good with the crying part," he muttered. "Me neither. But we got them out. That is what matters." More Valerians emerged from the shelter, thousands of them filling the plaza. Kate's Marines distributed food and water. Medics treated the wounded. Slowly, order began to emerge from chaos. Pelnara, the colony administrator, approached Kate. "How many did we lose?" Kate had been dreading that question. "We do not have final numbers yet, but from what we have seen, maybe 2,000 casualties." Pelnara closed her eyes. 2,000 out of 40,000. She opened her eyes again. "If you had not come, it would have been all of us." "Thank you, seems like such a small thing to say." "You do not need to thank us," Kate said. "This is what we do." Above them, human ships patrolled the orbit. Around them, Marines stood guard, and for the first time in days, the people of Thessia 4 felt safe. The human fleet arrived back at Terra Station 3 weeks after departing for Thessia 4. Jake Morrison expected to be arrested the moment he docked. He had disobeyed council orders, engaged in unauthorized military action, and started an interstellar incident. Any one of those things could end a career. Instead, when the Valiant's airlock opened, he found Admiral Henry Shaw waiting for him. The old man had silver hair and enough medals on his chest to weigh down a smaller person. He looked at Jake with an expression that was hard to read. "Commander Morrison," Shaw said formally. "Walk with me." Jake followed, his heart sinking. Here it comes, he thought. Court-martial. Dishonorable discharge. Maybe even prison time. They walked through the station corridors in silence until they reached an observation deck. Through the massive windows, Jake could see Earth hanging in space, blue and beautiful. Shaw stood there looking at it for a long moment. "Do you know what happened while you were gone?" Shaw finally asked. "No, sir. We have been in transit." The council lost their minds. 17 different species filed protests. The Korthax demanded we turn you over for trial. There were emergency sessions, committees formed, sanctions threatened. Shaw turned to look at Jake. It was a complete political disaster. Jake felt his stomach drop. "Yes, sir." "I understand. Do you? Because what happened next might surprise you." Shaw smiled slightly. "The Valerian government formally requested humanity's protection. They offered us a military alliance outside council oversight. Then 16 other species, all of them smaller worlds that have felt threatened by empires like the Korthax, sent delegations to Earth. They all said the same thing. They want us as allies." Jake blinked. "Sir?" "The council has spent centuries building rules and procedures. They debate everything to death. And while they debate, species like the Korthax prey on the weak. But you showed them something different. You showed them that someone would actually help when help was needed." Shaw pulled out a datapad. There have been 300,000 messages sent to human diplomatic channels. Most of them are thank you messages. Some are from species we have never even met saying they hope humans will protect them too if they ever need it. What about the council? Jake asked carefully. Oh, they are still angry, but they are also embarrassed. The whole galaxy watched them fail to respond while humans rushed in and saved 40,000 lives. It makes them look weak and cowardly. Shaw handed the datapad to Jake. Read this. Jake looked at the document. It was an official council resolution. His eyes widened as he read. They are offering us full membership status? More than that. They created a new position called Peacekeepers. It is a military role designed to handle crises that require immediate response. They want humans to fill that role. Jake could not believe what he was hearing. They are giving us permission to do exactly what I did? Not just permission. They are asking us to do it. Of course, some council members are terrified of what that means. They think we are too aggressive, too willing to fight. But others argued that the galaxy needs someone who will actually stand up to bullies. Shaw took the datapad back. Your mission changed everything, Commander. Whether you meant to or not. Jake thought about Thessia 4, about Pelnara and the thousands of civilians they had saved, about the Korthax ships they had destroyed. What happened to War Prime Thalkos? The Korthax prisoner? He is being held for trial. Council wants to prosecute him for war crimes. Should be interesting. The Dominion is not happy about it, but they cannot really argue. You captured him in the middle of raiding a civilian colony. Good. Jake felt some satisfaction in that.
And my crew?
The other commanders? Everyone is getting medals. Lisa Grant is being promoted to captain of the new battleship Independence. Ryan Bell is taking command of a second carrier. You, Commander Morrison, are getting the Valiant and a promotion to captain. Congratulations. Jake felt dizzy. He had expected punishment. Instead, he was being rewarded. I do not know what to say, sir. You could start by not scaring us like that again. When you went dark and jumped to Thessia 4 without authorization, half the Admiralty thought you had gone crazy. The other half wanted to follow you themselves but could not break orders. Shaw looked out at Earth again. But you did the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is not the legal thing. You understood that. Over the next few weeks, Jake and his crew were celebrated as heroes. There were ceremonies and interviews and more attention than any of them wanted. But through it all, they stayed focused on their real job, protecting people who needed protection. The human fleet expanded rapidly. More ships were commissioned. More crews trained. Earth shipyards worked around the clock-building warships that would patrol Council space as the new peacekeepers. Jake stood on the bridge of the Valiant, now his officially. He looked at his crew, many of whom had been with him since the beginning. They were good people. The best. Captain, Sam Foster called from Tactical. We are getting a distress signal. It is from a mining colony in the Arcturus sector. They report unknown ships attacking. Jake felt that familiar tension, that need to act. But this time he did not have to break rules to do it. Plot a course. Maximum speed. Contact the fleet and tell them we are responding to an emergency. Yes, sir. Estimated arrival time is 48 hours. Then we had better get moving. Jake sat in his command chair and smiled slightly. All hands, battle stations. We have people to save. The Valiant and its escort ships broke orbit and accelerated toward the jump point. Behind them, Terra Station watched them go. This time, nobody tried to stop them. Nobody questioned their authority. The human fleet had earned its place. Across the galaxy, news of the peacekeepers spread. Some species felt relief knowing humans would respond to threats. Others felt nervous about giving such power to a young, aggressive species from a death world. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed. On Thessia 4, Pelnara stood in the rebuilt colony center. Construction crews, both Valerian and human, were working to repair the damage. The place would never be quite the same. Too many had died. Too many memories were painful, but they were rebuilding. They were surviving, and they knew that if danger came again, they would not face it alone. A monument stood in the central plaza where Kate Sullivan's Marines had fought. It was simple, just a stone marker with names carved into it. The names of the 2,000 Valerians who had died, and below that a message in both Valerian and human languages. They heard our call and came. They asked for nothing in return. They fought because it was right. We will never forget. Next to the Valerian monument stood a smaller human one. It listed the 2 pilots who had died in the battle. Greg Mason had not been one of them, but he had insisted on being at the dedication ceremony. He stood there in his dress uniform, saluting. They were good pilots, he said quietly to Kate, who stood beside him. They knew the risks. They all know the risks, Kate replied. But they go anyway. That is what makes them heroes. Pelnara approached them, carrying flowers. She placed them at the base of both monuments. My people have a saying. It translates roughly as the debt that cannot be repaid. That is what we owe you. Kate shook her head. You do not owe us anything. We did what anyone should do. We helped, but not everyone does help. Most species talk about honor and justice, but when the moment comes, they find excuses. They have procedures to follow. They have to think about consequences, but you did not hesitate. You heard us and you came. Pelnara looked at the monuments. My children are alive because of you. Everyone here is alive because humans decided 40,000 strangers were worth saving. Greg cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the emotion. Well, we will be around if you need us again. That is what the peacekeepers do. Pelnara smiled. I know, the whole galaxy knows now. When someone is in trouble, when someone calls for help, humanity answers. That is your reputation now. I hope you are ready for what that means. Kate thought about that. Being the ones who always came to help. Being the ones who everyone called when things went wrong. It was a big responsibility. Maybe too big. But then she thought about the children she had seen in the shelters. The families reunited. The lives saved. If that was humanity's burden to carry, then they would carry it gladly. We will be ready, she said. Far above them, in orbit, the Valiant jumped to faster-than-light travel, already racing toward the next crisis. In shipyards around Earth, more warships were being built. In training facilities, more Marines were learning to fight. Humanity was preparing for its new role. The galaxy had spent thousands of years building rules and procedures. They had created a system where everything was debated and analyzed, where caution was valued above courage. But humanity was different. Humans remembered what it was like to struggle. They remembered helping neighbors during disasters. They remembered that sometimes you had to act fast and worry about consequences later. When someone sent an SOS into the dark, humanity heard it. And humanity came. The deathworlder fleet was on the move, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them when someone needed saving. Because at the end of the day, that was what separated humans from everyone else. They had not forgotten how to be heroes.